Okay, let's dive right in. OpenAI is making a really big move, kind of a surprising one, actually, into physical hardware.
Yeah, it's a huge step.
So today we're doing a deep dive into this bold partnership they formed with Jony Ive's design firm, LoveFrom. What does this actually mean, for AI's future and the devices we might all be using soon?
Exactly. And we've looked at quite a few sources here, strategic analyses, news reports from places like Reuters, NPR, The Verge, Axios, IT Pro, plus what Sam Altman and OpenAI themselves have been saying.
Right.
And our goal here is to sort of unpack why OpenAI is making this massive bet, what kinds of devices we might actually see, and importantly, the pretty big challenges they're facing. We want to help you get a quick grasp on this really pivotal moment.
It really does feel like a shift, doesn't it? I mean, we know OpenAI for the AI models, the stuff that lives in the cloud or runs on, our phones and computers already. So why jump into hardware? It's notoriously difficult, expensive.
Well, that's the fascinating part, the strategy behind it all. You see it in the sources. Sam Altman has basically said that today's devices, our smartphones, our laptops, they're like decades old in concept.
Decades old. Wow.
Yeah, and just not really optimized for how AI works. The thinking is AI needs its own dedicated hardware platform to really reach its potential.
Okay.
And bringing in Jony Ive,
Yeah.
arguably the most famous product designer out there, that signals they want to fundamentally rethink how we physically interact with AI, not just slap it onto existing tech.
So it's not just about putting ChatGPT into a new casing. It's building the device around the AI experience itself.
Precisely. And, connecting the dots here, there's a really critical strategic reason.
Yeah.
Control. Analysts are pointing this out. OpenAI wants to own the next hardware platform.
Ah, so they don't have to go through Apple's iOS or Google's Android.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bypass those big gatekeepers. Control the whole user experience, from their AI models right down to the thing in your pocket or hand. Gartner analysts are calling it a decisive step to shape that experience end to end.
And didn't the sources say Altman and Ive were already kind of kicking ideas around?
Yes, apparently they've been talking informally for maybe 2 years, brainstorming optimistic and hopeful AI products, is how it was put.
Okay.
They both seem to feel a new category was possible. This iPhone of AI idea keeps popping up, something that could really change how we use tech. I've even reportedly said something like, everything I have learned has led me to this moment.
That's quite a statement.
It really highlights how significant they both see this partnership. It's about turning that shared idea into, well, an actual product.
Okay. That makes the strategy clearer. But this potential iPhone of AI, what might it actually look like? What kind of device are we likely talking about first?
Well, there was a lot of early speculation, glasses, speakers,
Yeah.
but the sources seem to be narrowing it down. Altman called it totally new, specifically not a phone or smart glasses.
Not a phone, not glasses. Interesting.
Right, so the most likely candidate seems to be some kind of wearable AI pin or maybe a small screen-free device you keep in your pocket.
Like, are we talking something similar to the Humane AI pin or the Rabbit R1? Those didn't exactly set the world on fire.
Similar concept maybe, but the reports suggest Jony Ive himself called those early attempts very poor products. So OpenAI is aiming for something much better, presumably learning from those mistakes.
Right. Learn from the pioneers.
Sources confirm they're working on a pocket-sized, contextually aware, screen-free thing designed to complement your phone, at least initially, not replace it. Heavy reliance on voice, on sensing the environment, rather than the screen.
And Altman's apparently using a prototype, calling it potentially the coolest piece of technology the world will have ever seen. That's bold.
It's incredibly high praise, maybe a bit over the top, but it shows how much they believe in this specific form factor.
So why a pin or pocket device first?
It kind of makes sense as a first step. It plays to AI's strengths, voice, context. It's probably technically easier right now than, say, full AR glasses. And it lets them introduce AI as this sort of ambient helper without trying to dethrone the smartphone straight away. All the signs are pointing towards this screen-free wearable, maybe aiming for a 2026 launch.
Okay, but this is where it gets really tricky, right? This sounds incredibly ambitious. You mentioned hardware is hard. What are the biggest hurdles, the risks they face?
Oh, the hurdles are huge. First, just the money. Sources are talking about OpenAI committing something like $6.5 billion in stock.
Billion with a B.
Billion. That's a massive gamble for a company that isn't even consistently profitable yet on its main business. Hardware development, manufacturing, it just eats cash.
And OpenAI. They don't make hardware now.
Exactly. They have almost no internal expertise there. They'll need to hire or acquire tons of talent. Electrical engineers, supply chain experts, manufacturing people, distribution. Going from an Ive design concept and a prototype to mass production, that's a completely different game than training AI models. Execution is absolutely key.
Then you've got the tech challenges, getting that AI onto a tiny device.
Absolutely critical. Running complex AI locally, or even just managing the connection to the cloud reliably on a small gadget, you run into big problems with battery life with heat.
Yeah, like those earlier devices really struggled with that.
Severely. OpenAI has to solve those engineering puzzles to make it smooth, reliable, and power efficient. Nobody wants a device that's hot in their pocket or dead before lunch.
And they're not exactly entering an empty market.
No way. The competition is fierce. You've got Apple, Google, Meta, Amazon. They're all baking AI deeper into their existing hardware and platforms. OpenAI's new gadget needs to offer something genuinely different and compelling beyond what you can already do with an AI app on your phone. That was a major criticism of the earlier pins.
Plus, there's the whole trust and privacy thing, an always listening AI
Yeah,
device.
huge challenge there. A pin with mics, maybe cameras, that raises serious privacy flags. Social acceptance is a big question mark, too. I remember Google Glass.
Oh yeah, the glass hole effect.
Right. OpenAI has to build trust with really clear policies, strong security, and just thoughtful design so it doesn't feel intrusive or, creepy. They need to convince people it's a helper, not a sky.
And finally, just having Jony Ive involved sets expectations incredibly high.
It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? That partnership immediately makes people think iPhone moment, a total game changer. OpenAI probably gets one shot to make a really strong first impression here. If the first device flops or has big technical issues, winning back public confidence will be incredibly tough. The pressure for 2026 is immense.
Okay, so let's pull this together. It sounds like a massive bet for OpenAI. Really risky.
It absolutely is. They're pouring billions into moving AI out of the cloud and into, well, tangible devices designed by Jony Ive. Starting, it seems, with this screen-free wearable pin targeting 2026. The ambition is clearly to own the entire AI experience, models, hardware, everything.
But the hurdles are enormous. Building hardware know-how, the tech challenges, the competition, and maybe most importantly, convincing you, the user, to trust and adopt a whole new kind of device.
Right. This isn't just launching another gadget. It's OpenAI saying they want to fundamentally shape how we all interact with technology moving forward.
It's a clear moonshot, trying to become not just an AI research lab, but a leader in consumer AI hardware, too. So, here's something to think about as we watch this unfold. If this OpenAI-Ive partnership actually works, if they manage to create, say, starting with this pin, a truly intuitive, seamless AI companion, could that change our relationship with tech even more than the smartphone did? Could it free us from screens while keeping AI sort of ambiently present?
Or will the challenges just prove too big? Will it end up being just another interesting piece of tech that doesn't quite find its place?
Exactly. Something for all of us to mull over as the story develops.